it hits you like a truck when you don't know why everyone's hating on you so much. I understand that it is my fault as well for not bringing the crown home to Thailand. But beyond that, wow, like was that all you care about rather than a bigger message that can genuinely help people? Welcome to AIM Hour. My name is Anchilee Scott-Kemmis, Miss Universe Thailand 2021.
Good afternoon, Kun Anchilee.
Good afternoon.
สวัสดีครับ Well, speaking of being yourself, now it comes to the topic about being Miss Universe Thailand. This is quite, personally, I don't know about, how you feel, but if I hold this title, anything that have the word Thailand in it, it's quite heavy.
Yeah, it was a heavy year. And then on top of that, I carried this title that had Thailand at the end, and I grew up knowing people wanted like the third crown so much. And the moment you become a country representative, you feel the whole country on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. So I remember waking up in the middle of the night being like really freaking out that I was Miss Universe Thailand and had to carry so much responsibility. And I had just turned 22. Mm. So I was quite young with so much responsibility. But as I kept doing it, as I kept going on, you learn to live with it, you learn to cope with it. Mm-hmm. And it's an experience that's led me to, I think, grow beyond my years now. Mm-hmm.
But did it came with a price and a cost though? Of course, before I talked to you, I did some research and there are a part when you discuss about your mental health, a part when you discuss about online abuse. How was it and is it better now?
Yeah, it was hard. I will admit it, it was hard. And I think sometimes in the Thai culture specifically, when things are hard, you don't want to admit it. You don't want to come off weak. It's a culture that's very like hoop. But I think it's important now that we talk about it because the world is changing, and especially my generation, it's something that we're very prone to. Mm-hmm. It was really hard, genuinely really hard, because here you are trying to represent something that's so new and, in my opinion, so important, not only towards women but also men. So you come in with this campaign that's about embracing you mm-hmm. and not measuring your worth on beauty, because at the end of the day, you're someone's son, you're someone's daughter, you're someone's friend, and your worth also comes from that. So when you come in with like a really hopeful heart, it hits you like a truck when you don't know why everyone's hating on you so much. I understand that, it is my fault as well for not bringing the crown home to Thailand, and that comes with the title. But beyond that, I was more shocked that, wow, like was that all you care about rather than a bigger message that can genuinely help people? How I am now, I'm happy now. Like I feel like it's made me grow. Mm-hmm. I'm 23, but I can handle so much now, and and I don't want to say that I'm glad it happened, but in hindsight, in like the silver lining, I am.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to ask you a simple question though, like if you rate your mental, physical health from like 0 to 10, 10 being like overly utopian, everything is perfect, and 0 is like a living hell right now, where would you put it?
I'm a 7.
You are 7.
7.7.
You like number 7, eh?
I like 7. 7. I think I'm still new to the industry, I actually haven't been in it for a full year yet because I won last year October, mm-hmm. at the end of the month too. So you're just kind of going with it as like the days come. Mm. And then when you're alone and you have more time to reflect, I have this habit of overthinking, mm-hmm. which I'm so good at pulling myself down. Mm-hmm. I think there's this thing, like sometimes you get addicted to sadness. It's quite common too. Like when you're sad, mm-hmm. you just want to listen to sad songs all the time and it just makes you sadder and sadder and sadder. Mm-hmm. But you need to have that awareness to know when you're actually feeling that way. Mm-hmm. So when I feel that way, I bring myself up and that brings me to like a 7.7. Mm-hmm. But naturally, like I'll have days where I'm a 10. Mm-hmm. I have days where I feel like I'm a 0. It's human, I think, depending on what you go through.
We are all humans.
Yeah, we are. Like
about the rating, like 7.7 now. What was the number during the year that you were Miss Universe Thailand?
I've had 10s, definitely. I've had like real 0s. And there was a time where I probably had more 0s than I had when I came back to Thailand after the Miss Universe stage and I didn't make it into top 16 and I had the whole like country like felt like the whole country hate me. You were embarrassed. You didn't want to be seen anywhere. I lost so much confidence. And that's okay. Like it's just normal, you know, and I think if you see someone in the public eye do that and admit to that, it brings a lot more realness to it as well, which is why I'm not ashamed to admit that I had days where I was a zero. But like, you know, when you go through something bad, like you pull negatives out. It's like a black cloud, a grey cloud all over your head all day. Someone can say something amazing, but you hear one bad thing and it's like the cloud just gets darker and darker and you feel like the rain's on you, just you. Back then it felt that way. But I look back now and I was just in my own head.
And lately with in the last few years, beauty pageants become more than beauty. I mean, just judging from the like question panel, I think like for me like in Thailand, the day that they have like big beauty pageant is the day that people discuss about politics, even more than you know like parliament meetings, you know, because like everyone watch it and the question that being asked on the stage, people will discuss about it. Yeah. In your opinion though, like what is beauty pageant nowadays? Is it more than about beauty?
I thought it was. To me, it's more than about beauty now. You just have to make sure the rest of society goes on with it too. Because the platforms we get, yeah, though, you know, it is a beauty pageant, you want to look good, you want to do, you know, all that stuff. You're the one with the platform. You're the one where people are listening. So when people already think that pageantry is about your mindset and your thinking, once you get that platform, force them to listen. And that way you can shift it into being more than just about beauty. So I think it's a gray area at the moment, depending on perspective.
But as world goes on, I think it's become more diverse. Like people, they don't have a fixed set of opinion anymore. People will just look at this as a you know like a beauty stage or something more than just beauty.
Yeah, I think it's changing, but not fast enough. Because you look at fashion, for example, right? That's gone a lot further. You know, we've got people with, you know, skin discoloration representing all sorts of different things, different shapes, different sizes, different things on their faces that make them them. You don't necessarily get that yet in pageantry. It's starting, but it hasn't caught up to the rest yet, in my opinion.
Speaking of pageantry and political message and something more than beauty, what's your opinion on it though? Is it important that this stage is more than beauty?
It's so important because you have people listening. People will listen more when they're intrigued. They're intrigued by the whole, you know, walking in a swimsuit, evening gown, all that stuff. They're intrigued by it. So when you slide in messages that can be political and you deliver them gracefully and nicely and you have a reason for everything you're saying, it forces them to listen. So I really want it to go beyond beauty. Everyone who goes there wants a platform to advocate for what they want to advocate for. So once you get that platform, it becomes more than about beauty. The winner of Miss Universe, the global stage, it becomes more about beauty now. They're spokespersons, like they're speaking on behalf of everyone, you know, they're sharing their opinions, their minds and all that stuff. So it's more than about beauty. It's changing, things are changing. We value brains a lot more now too. So I'm very hopeful.
I can still see it in your eyes. I think the question is that when it comes to politics and beauty stage, and you are like Miss Universe Thailand, and when it comes to political and society, people might expect that there are other aspects of the society that need to tackle before real size beauty. It can be like, you know, like direct democracy. It can be something like pure politics.
Yeah.
It should be something like economics.
Yeah.
Given like 80% of Thai people living in poverty. You
Yeah.
know, what do you think of this statement?
I think it's true. I really do. If you have, again, reasoning, evidence is really important. You can say it. But say it in a way where, I don't want to say not take sides because you're entitled to your opinion and your side, but where it doesn't damage the other person or the other side. I think that's really important. But then this question just shows that pageantry needs to be more than about beauty. You're a representative of a country. You should be able to speak about it and you should want to. But if you don't, I also think that's okay because there's so many reasons to why someone doesn't want to talk about something. I think it's a matter of personal choice and measuring what you think is best because you're better off conveying a message that is impactful and has reasoning and logic rather than just saying something because you're expected to say something and does damage in the end. For me personally, I picked my battles and I picked them based on my values, which I am 100% against violence.
What I was thinking was that back to Anchilee before the contest, suddenly you enter the contest and you won and you become Miss Universe Thailand. And all these questions is pointing at you. These are the things that you like, even the questions that we have been discussed for the last hour, probably the thing that you never thought about it on like typical 21 years old wouldn't think about the answers to these questions. How did you process? How did you learn? How did you cope with it? Did you have to read a lot along the way?
No, I just spoke my mind. I think I've always had a genuine knowledge of what's going on in the world because, again, of my dad. We talk about politics all the time. We talk about, global trends, environment, all these things we've just always talked about. So I just said what I think. I was never afraid to say what I wanted to say. That was also the thing. So yeah, though I got asked a lot of tough questions, it forced me to think. It forced me to form a perspective, and that's always a good thing. It made me grow up. It just really did. And sometimes I'm like, oh, do you really have to ask me that? I don't have an opinion on it yet. But then you have to think back, like, do I not have an opinion on it or do I not want to share it? Because that's two different things. And a lot of times I just didn't want to share it yet. For the reason I said earlier about having that responsibility with my platform, with the kids, and yeah, so I was very selective about those things. But I'm not afraid to speak, so it never really affected me too much.
And I can see the atmosphere between your family, like your mother and your father, full of discussion, full of healthy arguments.
Yep.
And I think that play a big part of being you.
Yeah. Discussion was important. But the biggest one was respect. Respect, I think it goes with everything. It doesn't even have to be about my family in terms of how a person turns out or the relationship you have with a person. If you respect one another, that goes so much, that goes a long way without you even realizing. And that's what I saw in my parents. They respected one another. They respected my brother and I.
I want to know more about the education background as well. What kind of school did you go, or the teacher? Because like we said, it took a village to raise a wonderful person like you.
Thank you.
And yeah, aside from your parents, how did good education help you?
So I went to NIST International School, and it's a very diverse school, as international schools are. But I think the difference that my school did, or that I felt my school did, was you were allowed to have your own opinion on anything if you had evidence to back it up, if you had reasoning. And it was that freedom of allowing you to think for yourself, that freedom of critical thinking especially, that has given me the perspectives I have on everything today. And I went through the IB program. It's a critical thinking program. It's a program that forces you to think in so many different perspectives, and then you can form your own perspective. So having a program like that, going through that and having that be all you know, that's just what you become. And then going to uni in Australia, and then you go to a culture that, you know, foreigners are, like Westerners are, like you think something, you say it. There's no filter. When you have that, you're like, then I'll say it too. You want to say it, I'll say it too. I have my reasoning, you have your reasoning, go for it. And I think that's what shaped me to me today.
Well, and then you came back and being the Miss Universe Thailand. I mean, like from the place where you can, there's no filter. It's like 90% filter, I guess, like being the title that you had.
You know, what I say isn't actually necessarily filtered. I really say what I think. But I've gotten in a lot of trouble for that too. Sometimes I joke around too much, but like there's truth in what I joke about. But when it comes off as though you're attacking someone else, you cop a lot of like negative feedback from that. But I don't see it as a bad thing at all. I think not being afraid to speak.
You mentioned that you joke a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a jokester. I really am. I play around a lot. I think I have like different modes, you know. Sometimes I'm like, I can get into a discussion, I just talk. And then sometimes I get into like a kid version and I just play around and joke around. There's, you know, you get to be whoever you want to be, you have control over that.
But I was just gonna say, like, since you were a bit of a jokester, is there anything that I just like people, you know, having a good laugh, and I just like people, you know, like, is there any joke that you can recall telling to your friends? It could be something that not controversy.
No.
It's all good?
Whether I'm funny or not is different. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can say a joke. I think it's funny, but they might not laugh. So you never know, like, how it turns out. But I think what my friends and I do is we roast each other. Like, we just laugh at each other. You know the saying, like, instead of laughing at them or with them, you're laughing at or with them.
Yeah.
We're laughing at each other because we're laughing at silly things they do. That are true, that are real. And I think that's the part that might not be politically correct.
This program is designed to encourage people to speak in English.
Okay.
I think like during the past hours, I've stumbled in some of grammars and accent, but it's important that I speak out and get to communicate. Yeah, listening and talking is a lot more important. Can you share your opinion, you know, like the past hour that we are discussing things in English?
I think, well, English is obviously a global language, right? It's a language that's used everywhere. So it is important for us, especially for Thailand, if we want to be a competitive international, like into the international market and be able to communicate and all that stuff. We have to learn English, you know? I think it's important. And it allows you to communicate with more people. Grammar that's right, grammar that's wrong, you can understand, like, it's language, you know. You have your style of speaking, I have my style of speaking. That has nothing to do with whether or not you're good or bad at English. I really don't. I grew up speaking English to an Australian dad, hence why my accent's like this, hence why I have specific choices of words and different slangs that I use. You grew up speaking English in a Thai community, right? Communicating, like, it's just culture, that's all it is. But at the end of the day, you understand each other fully. You know what they're trying to convey. That's all it has to be. You don't need to bring in grammar, you don't need to bring accent, you don't need to bring in any of those things because it's not productive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
WorkpointTODAY สาระความรู้เพื่อวันนี้